Know this. Introducing the original blood clot podcast, not players. Soothing Semantics. Special dedication all the way from New York. Boom. Yeah, man. SWOT Semantics. Yeah, me know. Boom. Soothing Semantics. Yeah, me know. Big ups to the man now. Soothing Semantics.
Welcome to the Soothing Semantics podcast with your host, Raphael Pinsky. Today we have a special guest all the way from Baku, Azerbaijan, Pavel Shalumov. How are you, my dude?
Good. I'm doing good. I can't complain.
Wow, you speak very good English for someone who just got off the boat.
All 5 seconds ago.
Yeah. Dude, how was the trip? How was the journey?
So our goats didn't fly really well, so we kind of had to take the women. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they're one of those like third world countries, are they?
I mean, we're not... Okay, we're pretty much third world. We're like a little bit still corrupt, but we're doing a lot better now.
Bro, you're
Tourism
gonna
is a thing in our city now.
Your family in Brooklyn's gonna get a knock on the door from the Prime Minister.
What is this? I don't understand.
Of Shalumov family. You come and you leave my country, you betray us, and now you're talking shit.
Oh, God.
It's just my son. He's in Miami. Go after him.
The scary part is that country is kind of like... That's how they work. That's how they roll. Yeah.
You're safe and sound here, man. For now.
Until this podcast goes live.
I'll just kill you before what's the guy's name?
I don't know.
Mr. Yevgeniev.
I have no idea who the prime minister or whatever it is.
Is he a prime minister or he's not a dictator, is he?
No, I don't think there's a dictatorship there. There's just a lot of corruption and a lot of bribery. But that's all I know.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty bad. What if I want to visit?
Actually,
like, what if I want to visit post podcast? I want to visit, and Mr. Yevgeniev's like, Soothing Semantics. I saw your show. You talk shit about country you not come.
Do you know the famous guy Dan
Bilzerian?
Yes. So he actually went to Armenia and he got banned from Azerbaijan because he was like talking shit and stuff. So they were like, "Yeah, you're banned." So
Serious?
He's not allowed. Yeah, and there was a argument between Azerbaijan and Armenia, which happens with Azerbaijan's borders all the time. It's like a thing. Yeah, so he's banned. He's not allowed in the country. True story.
Damn. Let me tell you, they're really missing out on that one. Crickets. So, long story short, Pavel. Okay, I say Pavel. But
one of the many names.
The correct pronunciation of the name is Pavel. And Pavel likes to make plov. And I like to make plov to Pavel. Pavel. And Pavel, mind you, is on a very, very cool road trip. At the moment, he's currently road tripping on the couch right now. And he started from New York. Get it? Because she did drive.
Okay, I'm just gonna...
Dude, I'm going to get someone to take over. So
I quit. I'm just going to walk out now.
So he's on this road trip initially from New York. He was done with New York with everything going on with COVID, and things are difficult in that state.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. And so he decided to leave. He wanted to find a place with a lower cost of living and just something different. He wanted to change of pace. Right? Am I correct? So, I'm just giving a disclaimer. I'm giving you the floor in a moment. But essentially, yeah, you want to speak so badly. Your mouth is like. So basically, he's on a motorcycle. He's a pretty badass dude, and we used to be neighbors in Brooklyn, and he is now here. You should give her the story really, because I only know partial details.
So it all started when Rafi was 9, and we went to band camp. I'm just kidding. But
no. Tell them the truth.
Well, joking aside, when he said we lived in the same block, we used to it was me, him, and our friend Moshe, and the three of us were basically used to go outside all the time. Used to play baseball on the street. With a tennis ball, so sometimes we would hit cars and it would not break or roof them, so it was safe. And we just kind of grew up together, and I've been on this road trip for almost 2 months now. I kind of left New York 2 months ago. I'm a product/business development manager. It's definitely given me purpose. I was basically able to work from home. So I kind of talked to my parents and my coworkers and my boss, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna leave." The idea was to move to Texas, Austin, where it is pretty much a new tech up and coming city. The real estate's really good there. As a product manager, something that hopefully after COVID is a little bit more relaxed. It'd be easier to find a job there. So I've been in 13 states now, over 4,000 miles on the bike, basically picking out all the big cities in every state and just living there for a few days, seeing how it is, what's worth living, what's not. So far, nothing compares to New York City, but I will tell you there are certain cities that have this special thing that makes them worth living in. And out of the 25 cities I've been to, maybe there's 6 that are worth living in my situation so far. But I'm continuing on the trip. I'm going to the West Coast, so I plan to go back to Colorado, to go to Arizona, Portland, and see a bunch of other places in the West Coast and see if those cities are more livable in. The idea is if you find a livable city and you could put down a down payment, you start your real estate investments. And from there, if you can find one property and put down, let's say 10% or 15%, and you can have rental income coming in from there. Basically, the same way you grow a stock portfolio, you can grow a real estate portfolio and slowly, try to capture as many properties as possible that are bringing in more income every month than the mortgage itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Cool.
Dude, no, cool. Dude, that's great, man. So, which 6 would you live in? Like, would you advise people to live in? I mean, well, based on your preferences, I guess.
So far, based on whatever I've seen, I personally am from New York, and I've lived there over 20 years, so I can't live in a city too small. For example, I was in this beautiful little city called Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Elizabeth City, North Carolina, sorry. But
Yeah.
it was nice. There was a little lake. There was, lots of land for the price, but it was so small and so boring. The population was like 40,000 for the whole city. I couldn't do it. But when you live in a city like Nashville, which I've been to 7 times, 6 of those for work, Nashville is a city that is big enough. It's called a big small city. It's big enough to give you all those nightlife inclusions, attractions, experiences, food, venues, things like that, but also give you the beautiful aurora of a small city with its nature, with its nightlife, more like nightscape and things like that. I did like Raleigh, North Carolina. I think out of all the North Carolina cities like Durham and other ones, Fayetteville, Raleigh was the most pleasant. It was kind of like a bunch of little small prospect parks scattered throughout the city.
That sounds really nice.
A little bit of small shops and little downtown-esque vibes in a few places.
He was a little Kafkazi man selling shirts?
No, I go far away from Kafkazi people, as you can tell.
He's a self-hater.
I'm not a self-hater. I just, I love New York for a reason. They're, not so fun.
It's pretty much you, the Abramov family. Now, I'm going to pronounce this. Vadim. Am I on point?
Yeah.
He's sick.
That's his first name. The Lizarovs, yeah.
Whatever, it's fine.
Potato. Tomato.
That sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to several. I mean, I've been through the Carolinas on road trips. I've been to Florida and back, but I definitely would like to check out some of these places. But now that you're here and you love it and you probably want to stay, perhaps, you think you're still... I mean, I'm assuming you're going to continue this at some point, but if you were to narrow it down, because 6, you can't make a decision with 6. I mean, it's a starting point, but you eventually have to narrow it down to 2 or 3 spots and then make a decision. Do you think you kind of have those 3 in your brain, or you still kind of stuck on 6 and you're not really sure?
I mean, Austin's the original location I was going for. Fort Lauderdale / Miami, those 2 cities are really close. They're 30 minutes away from each other. Those 2 cities are really livable. The real estate is expensive, but it's not too expensive where it's not, I guess, valued correctly. So, for example, if you were to buy a 2-bedroom property here versus what I was trying to buy in New York, you're looking at $250,000 difference in a 2-bedroom. And the 2-bedroom that you got in New York for that price, which is around, let's say, $600K or $500K or $450K even, you're looking at 2 closet space rooms with a bathroom the size of of another closet.
A village in Baku, essentially.
Yeah,
I think I'm just going to revert to any joke. I'm just going to like make Kafkazi jokes.
Yeah, but the real estate in New York is super expensive, and the value you can get here in Miami or Fort Lauderdale is actually not too bad. It appreciates every year at a good percentage. There's constantly new development here in Miami and in Fort Lauderdale. There's a lot of families.
That's very true.
Rentals are doing good here. Airbnb does well here. It's year-long tourism because of the weather. So cities like Nashville, Texas, / Austin, San Antonio, Denver, Phoenix, which has weather year-round, is really good for Airbnb rentals.
Denver depends, because Colorado, I mean...
The mountains have winter stuff and summer stuff.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying overall, you're kind of putting them in the same boat where like the weather's very different. Colorado's more seasonal.
True.
You know, Florida is kind of just like hot most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very different kind of thing.
Speaking of hot, Rafi just passed his real estate exam.
What? Yeah. Who's Rafi?
Rafi, Mr. Pinsky. I like to elaborate on your name and change it. Sometimes call you R.
Dude, he passed?
Yeah. He
Dude,
killed it. I heard he aced it so much, he gave the teacher a heart attack in the middle of the class.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
Did he like revive? I don't know why we're going to stop speaking in third person. Well, what is it, second person? If I were to say Rafi, it's third person. So what's he?
If you're saying Rafi did this and you're
That's
Rafi,
third person,
yes.
but I didn't say that. I said he. It's so still the same.
Then that's second.
Second person? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I feel like you got to be sober / drunk to know this stuff.
Sober / drunk?
If you're sober and you don't know it, that means you got to keep drinking until you figure it out.
Fine.
Kind of like how I am in beer pong. You miss a few times, you take a few shots, and all of a sudden you get real, real good.
That happens, man. It's weird. Like
with sex too. Just kidding.
Sometimes it's weird about drinking. It's the kind of thing where if you drink too much or if you're just in the wrong state of mind, it throws off everything. Like your motor skills are messed up. But then there are times where you have that right amount of drink and you're so leveled because you don't have that. I mean, this is all common knowledge, but you don't have those inhibitions. So you're just like, all right, I got this. You go into it with this crazy confidence that in a sense you should have regardless, but the booze just just takes that away, and you're like, you just decide when you're sober, you throw the ping pong ball right over the table. When you're lit, you step like 6 feet back and you're like, yo, watch this, and like you throw it, it like hits you in the forehead and lands in the cup, and you're like, oh, I meant to do that, fuck me, you know, and it works
exactly
out.
how it works.
Yeah, dude.
With beer pong, the rule is drink more, you play better. But in reality, I found that when you're out in the bars and you start drinking more, you get a little less coherent, but you're less likely to not give. Like, you are 2 shots in, 3 shots in.
Dude, that's like classic. That's booze, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but I noticed, like, for example, I'll be out of the bar with my friends and 2, 3 shots in. I'm like,
what friends?
I don't have any friends. Let's be honest. Never mind. So it was me and my imaginary friends,
Yeah,
Bob.
boy, like your little Lego toys that you built, and you bring them to the bar with you.
Exactly.
And
Like
you sit them.
human-sized Lego.
You
That actually
place
pretty
them,
impressive.
and you place them in like different seats. You like pull the whole table together. You're like, hey, waiter, and you get like the whole table, and you get drinks and a whole, like a thing of flowers. And the waitress is looking at you like you really should go to a hospital, but you're like,
My mom looked at me like that
too. Can you get drinks for my friend, me and my friends? And she's like, yeah, sure. What are they having?
I mean, if we're gonna be honest, if you go walk into a bar
As long as you're honest.
with human-sized Lego pieces and put them in seats and not make friends after that, then you are either the most antisocial person or you have really shitty Lego pieces. It's the one or the other.
I completely agree, dude. I have to step up my Lego piece game. I would die by if someone actually did that. I would be.
I'd be so impressed. I would. There's not a second in my
It's
mind
a great
I would say,
icebreaker.
"Hey, don't go talk to him." I'd be like, "Yo, this man or this woman."
Well, you're gonna trigger some people with how you pronounce that. You're gonna trigger people with how you said that, bro.
It's like the time when I go to Chipotle instead of Chipotle, and they're like, "What'd you say?" I was
No,
like,
but that's
nothing.
that's nothing. That doesn't trigger anyone. But saying
That's
woman, yeah, that's a triggering. You know, I really wonder why the word is that word. Like, what does woe mean? Is it womb?
It has to do with womb, like being from a womb of a woman.
Because I vaguely remember this. Okay, but then why womb man? You get what I'm saying?
Like policeman.
No, I'm saying like,
womb man.
I think this is a very feminine, potentially feminist question. Why are I'm not a feminist per se. I'm not going to get into this right now. I'm not getting into this conversation right now. But why is it called, or why are women called womans? Woman. I can't.
If you say a word enough times, it just becomes like you're like, what is this word again? What does this mean? It doesn't even sound correct. You're like, that's not a real word, is it? So we have a cultural dance that kind of looks like.
It really looks like a war dance. It's
It
very
looks
cool.
like breakdancing with Tourette's in the middle of that.
I think it's cool as shit. I'll be honest. I think it's really cool. It's a very majestic dance.
So he says that because I'm sorry to interrupt. He says that because the men basically jump up and move as fast as possible, and the women just kind of move their hands in like a little like flowery motions, and that's all they do. So it's a very.
I've seen women doing it though.
I've
seen some
the dance
women.
for men and women is very different.
No. I'm saying when they dance together, the women are very feminine about it.
Yeah.
So a trigger. It's also going to trigger people.
Well, that's how the.
What do you
dances
mean
are.
by
The
that?
culture's
What
like
does that mean?
unfortunately.
Feminine how?
What? What?
I said the culture's like that. I mean, my parents tried to arrange marriage me a few months ago before I left New York.
My parents also tried to do that.
Yeah, they're
And
like,
then-
"We'll find you a nice Gorski woman," and I was like, "Okay." Thinking, first of all, I didn't say okay. I said no right away. But they were like, they came back the next day. I was like, "Mom, Dad, I told you guys no." They're like, "Okay, but look at these girls." I'm like, "Mom, this girl looks a little young, and so does that one. How old are they?" They're like, "Oh, they're just finishing up high school." Mind you, I'm 25. That's not okay. I was trying to explain that. They're like, "No, you want them when you're young." I was like, "Mom, what are you doing? No.
You're going to corrupt those poor girls, man.
It's not even that I'm gonna correct them. That's just so weird. They're still in high school.
Because, bro, you don't live in that. You're an American, man. Your parents, at the end of the day, they're Americans now, but they're not Americans at heart, man. They're old school. They do things the way they did in their country, and you're like, I don't want this arranged marriage thing.
And it's interesting you say that because there's definitely a barrier with how I'm brought up / discipline and how I think versus how my family thinks. I've noticed a lot of the time we clash in a lot of different things like common rules like etiquette and going out and partying.
When nature calls, do you go to the outhouse that your parents designated, or do you actually?
We
use
used the first tree on the left.
Pavel, I ripped the leaves off the tree and put them in perfect order for you to wipe your bum. Like instead of, you would normally buy the paper towels or the paper.
No, that's exactly what we do.
With paper towels.
No, we use leaves. What do you mean paper towels? That's too expensive, man. We are Jewish after all.
No matter where you are, no matter what country you're from, bro, Jew's a Jew, man.
You gotta save money somehow. my ass is not thanking me for it, but that's a different story. Full disclosure, guys. I am only kidding. Thanks, guys.
I don't believe that.
I use Charmin only, guys.
But
this is not
Charmin.
This is not an advertisement.
Just pronounce it right, bro.
Charmin?
It's pronounced Charmin.
Potato.
I know. I don't even know why it's pronounced that way. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, that bear definitely has like the cleanest butt though. It's like a very clean bear butt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But all kidding aside, the one thing I've come to realize about these countries, the countries that aren't as popular as say European countries or generally the poorer countries, the big plus side, and this works on an individual level too, but it fascinates me, is that the people are generally a lot more resilient. They might not be as wealthy. It's really a lot of it's just wealth. They lack the wealth. I mean, they lack education. They lack plenty of things, don't get me wrong, but.
Thanks.
Yeah. Full disclosure.
Full disclosure, my father was not allowed to go to college in our country because he was Jewish, so he had to go to Russia to go to school. So that's actually a real thing, as much as we're joking.
I do notice a resilient aspect to things, and when people from poorer countries come to America, a lot of them are very, very motivated, and you kind of have this switcheroo where the Americans, several generations in, because all Americans at some point
are lazy.
No, but hey, bro, what's going on? So they,
hello.
so they all came in and at some point or another, but a lot of us were a few generations American already. But the ones like you, for instance, your parents came here and they think America is the answer, and people who live here, they don't appreciate that, and that's the craziest thing to me.
I mean, that's 100% a valid point because you notice a lot of the immigrants who come in, they have a different work etiquette and a different structure of their life than, let's say, American kids. The way I was raised, the way my friends who are not born here were raised, even from other
Lego toys.
immigrant backgrounds. First of all, immigrant parents means your parents probably beat you. But that also means you probably did well in school because you were scared to get beaten. So those translated to good grades and scholarship and things like that. So yes, when you were younger, our immigrant lifestyles were a little bit more complicated than the American. Hey, go to your room, and you're like, I have a room. This is wild. Oh, goody! I love being American. And then you have like immigrant parents like, go to your room. Why? You're gonna beat the shit out of me there so no one can see me? Bro, like, what's happening?
That's funny though, because like an immigrant parent says, "Go to your room," and the kid just goes to his little like cot in the corner of the room. You know what I mean?
Basically,
he's sitting there like fighting over a sleeping space with like his 1-year-old brother in the crib, and they're just going like that, like they have nowhere to sleep. Yeah, that's hard, man. But yeah, I'm not. I love how off topic we got, but I'm not pro hitting a kid. Like I feel like there's very few instances where that can be called for. But that's just me. I understand that like you have a lot of people who are pro it. They think it works. Blah blah blah. In America now, that's the kind of thing that for the most part doesn't fly. And I think ultimately, I'm not a parent and never have been, so I can't really speak from experience. But I think I don't know. Like you can scare a kid into doing what you want the kid to do, but you run the risk, I think, of possibly creating a violent person. Like if you constantly, meaning like if you really designate very few things to hitting, fine. But I think parents get carried away with the power of it. They know that once they smack a kid hard enough in the face or with a belt or whatever, the kid will listen to whatever they tell them, and it becomes a controlling thing where your kid will do anything you tell them. And I don't know, like I don't need my kid to fear me. I need my kids to respect me. So that's like I don't, if I can get, it's not a matter of getting them to do what I want. It's just that if I really feel something is beneficial to them, I'm going to be very serious about it. And I think ultimately you can, just by action, by following through with what you say, if you say you're going to punish your kid, punish your kid. Don't just, I'm going to give you the count of 5 to do, you better get up in 5 seconds or blah, 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 blah. The kid gets up in 10 seconds, you don't do anything. The kid's not going to respect you. It's a very simple thing. You say, if you sit there, no problem, this and this and this is going to happen, or this and this and this is not going to happen. You're not going to play PlayStation. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. And then you have to see whether that consequence actually makes a difference. Could be your kid doesn't care to play PlayStation. So it has to be a punishment that actually makes sense. But I don't know, that's just me. Like I wasn't hit as a kid. I mean, very rarely if I like did something really stupid. But it wasn't, I can't even remember, like maybe once. But I was scared shitless of my grandmother. Like she wasn't like the thing was she wasn't a violent person. She wasn't like threatening or whatever. She was very serious when she was she was a very serious disciplinary person. Like when she said something, she followed through. So I knew that when she was upset about something or I did something wrong, she meant business. And that's why I never second guessed her, and like that. She's a tiny 4'11" woman, but
I met her. I know.
But she's a tough cookie, that one. So to me, I think that's what really makes the difference. You have to say what you mean what you say,
I mean, to be honest with you, in my culture,
as long as you're honest.
Okay, not to be honest with you, because
I could go. I just don't.
Where are we going? Sure. You want a scrapbook? You want a scrap? Let's go. I got the glue. I gotta get better jokes.
You got some corn in the fridge. You might want to just.
I'm a corny guy. It's not my fault.
Not even a dad yet.
Oh God, I hope not.
Okay.
I'm not ready to be a dad. That's the conversation for next podcast. Let's not go into that one.
Okay. Well.
But in my culture, to be
honest,
exactly, everybody, older people, older generations that beat their kids, and mom, dad, uncle, grandmas, grandparents. That's kind of a thing. And looking at
many countries, man.
And I was gonna say, yeah, looking at it, any non-American families that live in America, you're looking at Italians, and you're looking at Irish, and you're looking at Chinese people, you're looking at Indians. They beat the shit out of their kids, man. Let's be fucking honest.
Yeah.
It's just Americans that don't do that, and
it's a Western thing. I would say even in a lot of like Denmark, Sweden, countries like that.
I don't think they do it there.
I'm saying I don't think they do. I'm saying I don't think they beat their kids for the most part.
Probably not.
It's more of a Western, more reformed thing. And yeah, man, honestly, it's hard to say whether it works or it doesn't. I'm more pro communication, less about that. I'm not pro hitting kids, but
so I mean,
it works to some. I don't know. Some people that swear by it. Some people.
I'm actually not for it either. I'm against it, and I think that there's a clear physical and psychological damage that gets done to a child throughout his life, throughout his childhood. And, you know, he grows up, and because he was beaten as a child, whether it's not often or often, there's certain emotional barriers. There's, you know, self-esteem issues, confidence issues, issues with discipline, self-discipline, or other ways. And that all kind of, you know, I've seen kids who got beaten, kids who haven't gotten beaten, myself included. And, you know, you can clearly tell a kid who's been disciplined when he's gotten beaten, because at least you know that they've gotten some discipline in them. Like, you take a kid who's gotten beaten, and yes, he's emotionally scarred, but at least he has manners, man. Like, you take a person who's out, you know, you meet someone, and
I don't know, man. I wasn't beaten, and I think I have manners.
I'm saying it in a generic and, like, very
It's
broad.
hard. I don't know, man. Like, you have a lot of people who have been beaten senseless as kids, and they're not necessarily.
Yes, but, like, if your kids got beat a little bit and they had some discipline with that, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I personally wouldn't want to do that for my kids, and nor would I want my wife to do that, future tense, of course. But I have seen situations where, you know, people have done it, and it is what it is. I don't think it's the best thing, but I don't think it's going to completely go away in the next 100 years, because at the end of the day, discipline is still discipline.
There's a lot of cultures and countries who are going to do it for as long as we can think. I mean, there are simply cultures that don't agree with the American way, and they're going to do that regardless. I mean, every culture is different, every country is different, but yeah, I don't know. It's something I don't necessarily agree with. I don't think it's the right way, but, you know, either way. How did we get into this conversation?
I think it started with band camp.
They beat kids in band camp?
No, but I just like American Pie references.
Dude, that movie was solid. That's a pastime. That movie is. I feel like every American
Should know
born in the 90s, at least, every American born in the 90s or probably late 80s has seen American Pie.
So it's funny. Sometimes I'll go to the bar, and sometimes I get a gun and be like, hey, you know, this person doesn't look 21. And for me, my rule is 21 and over. I'm 25. It's not a big age difference, but for me, if you're not at least in college, it's a little weird and just throws me off.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll be at a bar and I'll be like, this person doesn't look 21. So I'll say some random joke, and if I insert band camp and they don't get the reference, it's probably because they're not old enough. And I'm usually at that point like, hey, my mom's calling. I'll be right back.
It's actually a pretty smart way to figure that out.
I usually just make a reference to something.
But if they're not American,
2000s, and then if they don't know what's going on, I kind of run away.
That's great. That's smart, actually. But if they're not 21, if they're not American, there's a nice chance they didn't see it. Like I think a lot.
Yeah, but that's true. If they're not American, then it's also the age barriers is important. But at that point, it's easier to find that out, I guess, without being.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like it would.
When they're not American?
Yeah, you could just be more straightforward. Oh, you're not from here. How old are you? Where are you from? Blah, blah. You know, you ask an American, hey, how old are you? They'll be like, 21, 22.
I never had a problem, by the way. Like,
yeah, I guess
I
not.
never
Maybe
like
I'm
if
wrong.
I really want to ask a woman's age, I'll ask it. Like I'll and like worst case they get a little bit offended, but like you know, it's usually just someone.
They don't like
if you get the
answering
vibe. If you get the vibe that it's someone who it's generally an older woman who doesn't want to tell you that she's older, whatever older means to her. You know, say she's whatever it is in her 30s or 40s, whatever the age is
After
a touchy
30,
subject.
I've noticed it gets more.
They don't want to say.
about talking
So
about it,
if I see it's something that will really bother them, I try to like stay away from it. But if they ask me, I'll usually ask them. Like if you're gonna ask me, don't expect me not to ask you. Like you kind of just digging yourself in a hole, in a hole there.
When I was in college, one time I was
In Baku.
in Hunter College in New York City.
In
But yeah, close enough. But cool, yeah. In the mountains, you know, herding my sheep, you know. Anyways, when I was in college, I remember one time I was on a date, and I forgot how to say this girl's name. And I'm like, you know, I can't really try to, you know, relate to her or get closer to her and say anything without, you know, actually knowing her name. So I'm sitting there, and we're walking around Lexington Avenue, and I'm like, I figured it out. I took her to Starbucks, and then when we're ordering coffee, I get something for myself. I'm like, hey, what do you want? She orders. I'm like, hey, what's your name? I go, can you tell them your name so, you know, blah, blah, blah. So they can put the, you know, on the cup.
Yeah.
So she tells her name, and she goes, I'm going to make it up. My name is Stephanie. And you're like, haha, now I know her name. And that is how I...
That's an old one, though. I'm not going to, I can't really give you credit for that because that's like an old...
That's probably true.
It's an old move.
I did do it once. That is true, though.
Smart. There's a lot of ways to pull that. You can like, you could get like your friend, like if you're interested in a girl, you could get your friend to ask.
I usually introduce that person.
Or
to
you just
everyone
get,
that I
or
know.
you just get the person's number and they put it in, and then like you kind of just smooth your way out of it.
Yeah. What's the smoothest way you ever got a number?
Smoothest way I've ever gotten a number. I don't know. Not really sure. I can't think of anything. I mean, they're usually, I guess you could say they're usually pretty smooth.
Very modest too.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I'll usually just ask straightforward, in a straightforward manner.
Can I have your number?
Can I have it? Can I have it?
Psych, that's the wrong number.
Where was that from?
I have no idea. I've just always been saying it's from
It's
somewhere.
a reference of something.
Psych,
like the back of your head is ridiculous. I think that was SNL. That was like an old SNL.
Maybe it might have been like one of those video meme type things.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But what were you? But about like smooth number getting. I mean, I'm sure it's happened where like I've said something or whatever and it just was very fluid, but I don't remember offhand. I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes Rafi thinks he's real smooth, and then we go to Orlando and he just is not smooth at all. Sometimes
that's not going on. That's not going on the episode.
I know. I just wanted to reference it to make it hot and sweaty for you.
Right.
Rafi's like, I'm gonna murder this kid later.
When we're done, you're gonna die.
You're gonna learn today.
You're gonna learn today, Randy. You're gonna learn today, Randy. You pick up that bed of hay and you give it to the horse down there on the straddles. I don't know what straddles are, but
You worry me sometimes.
Gosh darn it, Pavel. You came all the way over from New York to Kansas City. You brought that whole New York mentality with you, goddammit.
Kind of sound like Bush/Southern Bush. Try your Israeli accent. Does it like
Bush/Southern Bush? That's like saying Pavel/Gorski Pavel.
Well, yeah. Sometimes they talk more Gorski instead. That's more Brooklyn, but sometimes
More Gorski, Bratan, like this. Like Morbid Mountains, and the eagle eats the wolf, and then Khabib comes out, and Khabib eats the bear, and then the bear is eaten, and then everybody dies.
Thank you for coming to your TED Talk.
I like this. Let's keep it awkward for a few seconds.
Rafi likes awkward silence. Sometimes he looks at me, says really dirty things while I do my work.
I'm not deleting this. I'm not deleting this. This part I'm not deleting.
I want
just kick the mic in my face. It's fine. You Israeli accent. Why'd you want me to do that?
I feel like it's your best accent.
Yeah, but I'll do it when the time comes. I'll do it when it's fluid. Gotta keep the people curious.
Speaking of,
I think I've done it in other episodes. Honestly, I don't even.
Gotcha.
Cool.
You always make fun of it, but you know what? It's not a bad show.
Although right
now, it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's where.
That's what it's from.
Yeah, but with the whole 2020 COVID/protests and stuff, a show about cops is not exactly the most pressing thing. So I don't think they're actually even doing a new season. To be honest, they might not, because there's too much things going on.
All cop shows are just done.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not that they're done. It's just like
God, we live in such a weird time right now. Everything is so strange. I mean, I'm enjoying the ride because it's gonna give me a lot of interesting things to tell my kids and my grandkids one day. It's gonna be in
the last 2 years alone, we went through a lot.
2 years?
Yeah, in the last 2 years, we had stock market crazy pull gains, crazy losses. We've had a coronavirus. We have killer murdered hornets or something else. So there's so many things that are going on.
There's
right
also,
now.
dude. There's also Kafkazis. I mean, and they're spreading like wildfire.
They don't, because we just marry our third cousins, so we can't really find that many third cousins to marry.
You just have like this hut with like smoke coming out and like a
me
mountain in
outside
Baku,
of Game of-
and like a cyclops, like little baby cyclops walks out and she's like, "Oh, hello!" And like both parents, they're like brother and sister. They come out and they're like, "What a beautiful little cyclops baby! What are we going to name her, Yevgeny?" This is like all racist, but I can totally do this because you're Kafkaz. No, all kidding aside, for all the Kafkazis, I know everyone's gonna I know there's like 40 of them in a room with like machetes and like, "Going to cut this Rafi's head off now," and they're just like waiting to get on a flight to kill me.
No, they're more like sitting there like, yeah, if I could name you the amount of uncles I know that marry their cousins, it's really scary. It's like, I've seen this on Game of Thrones, but I didn't know it's outside of Game of Thrones. I'm like, oh, this still exists? Oh,
bro,
that's
honestly,
nice.
Now that you brought that up, I would love to
marry your cousin.
Yes.
Okay.
but if I could live during those medieval times, like Game of Thrones times, or Vikings, that is so cool, dude.
It
Like,
is, but the chances that you'd be a knight versus like the 10,000, peasants that live there versus the 25
I know.
knights.
I'm not trying to be, but don't be too technical here.
Okay, fine.
Talking about like if I was one of the main characters and I was like 6'7", massive guy with this long beard and just like big dude, and I just wielded a sword. I cut my beard with a sword. It's such the one thing I love about these shows, these movies, is that it shows you how life you. Don't get me wrong, bro. I'd much rather live in this kind of world, but back then it was so primal, you know. It was so primal. You just go to war and you just, it's cool, man. And people are like, oh, that's so backwards and so whatever. It's like, yeah, but the entire world watches it and loves it. So obviously there's an appeal.
Of course, it's interesting.
No, what I'm saying is like there is these guys like in Vikings or Jason Momoa in Game of Thrones. These guys are women's fantasies. These big brawly warrior guys. Women in this day and age, if they saw that in like a random country like Azerbaijan, they saw like this big brawly dude like just cutting wood. Women love that because that's the most manly thing. Nowadays, like you see a guy like walking into the office like a little book bag. You know what I mean? Like you don't have that as much anymore. You still have it. You have people who fight. You have wrestlers. You have guys who gym guys, workout guys. Funny way to put it, but anyway, you have plenty of manly men in this world.
Manly men.
Men. You gotta harmonize it.
I can't sing, dude. I sound like an elephant who saw.
So you do the man. You do the man part, and I'll.
I can't. There's no vocal cords.
Just do a monotone. You just do a monotone.
No.
You shy?
I'm not a singer.
Bro, you come from this warrior mountain
Only in the
country, and you
shower.
can't even sing on the camera.
I can't sing. Period. No camera. Like
I'm
no
gonna hear
special
you,
shows.
dude.
none
I'm
of
gonna
those kind of
get
things.
you wasted.
I don't even do karaoke. I'm so
I'm gonna
bad.
get-
I have broken mirrors.
Your voice is really that bad.
One time I was singing in the shower and my mom thought I fell. She called the ambulance and she was
Oh,
like,
no,
"Yo,
she knows."
My kid fell in the
No.
shower. He's yelling for help."
Because she
I
knows-
opened the door and my mom's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "What?" I was singing, and then next thing you know, I gotta explain to the cops why I was. My mom called.
I gotta tell you, not one of your better jokes, but it was okay.
Okay, I tried. I really tried.
Yeah, so you can't sing. That's all right. Listen, at
Definitely
least you have like one other skill or something. I think.
I do. Well, this is awkward.
Now you're a talented guy.
I'm just funny looking. That's really all I got.
You're good people. I'm glad to have you here. All kidding aside, you're a good dude. But yeah, I mean, all in all, we live in a crazy time, and in a weird way, I'm kind of enjoying it because when things are so normal, that's what they are. I mean, you create your own circumstance and you create excitement in your life, and you have to go out, go after that. So it's not to say that life is boring; it's what you make of it. But it's like this weird thing where these things are kind of forced on us. Like I can't go into a store if they say you have to wear a mask. I have to abide by that.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, in a first world country, you have rules and regulations. So it is what it is. You roll with the punches, and you don't fret about what you can't change. You just go with the flow. But there's still enough to be done. You can still be productive, happy, social to a degree. There's stuff to do. This is the kind of I enjoy this kind of experience because if you can get through it with a smile on your face, that's true resilience to me. And I think this is the kind of experience that's either going to make or break people. And for the people that can get through it, I think most people, if they're still alive, will get through it. But the question is, will it really just destroy them? And that's the real test, and that really comes down to resilience.
I mean, it's also interesting to bring up. America has basically have the worst COVID cases in the world right now. I mean, we had 6 months ago or 7 months ago, we just started to take care of our cities and start to just even understand that COVID was a thing. And Italy and Spain and Hong Kong were in shutdown. And now we're looking at New York alone probably has more cases than any country in the world, which is interesting.
Well, you know what it is?
Interesting enough, even with all these cases that we have, our cities, because Trump has basically allowed the cities or the states to govern themselves in accordance to COVID, they have a lot of cases, don't, but they're not so restrictive or dictatorship or totalitarian. I can't even pronounce it.
Totalitarian.
Total.
Just say like total,
Total.
and then say Itarian.
Itarian.
Now say it fast.
Tatarian.
Sounds like a Viking.
Yeah, I give up.
Tatarian, gather your men, Tatarian. Xerxes, I'm just mixing like Greek and whatever. Xerxes, come here at once into the fort. We will rise at dawn and we will eat the clamshells at dinner. I love that. Honestly, I want to be in a movie like that, like in a 300 style movie.
Yeah.
And like really exaggerate it. Like I love that. Like go so overboard.
What was the parody of 300?
We will eat eggs at 5.
Was it This Is Sparta? What was the parody? I think with Cameron Diaz was there.
Hold on, I'm gonna Google. Meet the Spartans. Yeah, Meet the Spartans. Meet the Spartans is a American parody film written and directed by Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer.
I just want to burst your bubble.
Burst the crap out of it.
Well, I actually just want everyone to know that you sing all the time. I'll wake up and Rafi's just.
But do you enjoy it?
I thoroughly
do I have a good voice?
Debatable. It's just enjoyable.
Really? Debatable?
I mean, it's enjoyable. You like to do opera. You like to do jazz. You like to do, what's it called?
Scuba diving. Scuba music.
Scooby that thing. What's that called?
Blues?
No, it's like rag, not rag. It's like when you scuba, you scuba I don't know what it's called.
Like this, like oh Pavel baby, like that kind of.
No, they literally go scuba dabby do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's okay.
Oh Pavel, oh Pavel, oh Pavel, oh Pavel, oh Pavel. Oh, he likes to eat plov.
So that's his favorite song to sing when I'm taking a poop.
Well, you always leave the door open, and I smell the plov coming out of your butt.
That is not what happens.
And then I decide to take a seat next to the bathroom, and we have a conversation.
That does happen.
That's actually never happened yet, so let's not.
Okay.
But it will at some point.
Probably.
I will be doing more opera of your voice, of your name.
Listen, you probably said my name more often than I've heard it in the last 3 years.
Yeah, dude.
In the last 2 weeks, we've been living together, so that probably should make more sense to everyone.
For me, I do that. I've noticed over the past 2 years. Once I become friendly enough with someone, it's kind of like my endearment. It is. It's how I kind of show a person that I'm cool with them. Like I'll just say their name a million times in funny ways. And I noticed that usually that person reciprocates and does it to me also. Because after a while, after the 500,000th time of hearing me say your name, it just goes back. You're like, Rafi, da da da, and it just happens.
I always pronounce it wrong first and then correctly. It's my phone.
It's a phantom vibration.
By the way, it vibrated as soon as I picked it up.
Not down. Mother's calling?
Maybe.
Anyways.
Don't bring up that my mom calls too much. Don't do it.
Do
that is also a Kafkazi thing.
You
yes.
you let the cat out of the bag now because I didn't say it. I didn't say nothing.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. No, nope, not wrong. My parents haven't called though in a long time.
Oh my god, that's because they haven't called in 20 years.
26.
Oh my god. We're not laughing because it's me.
26. 26 years, dude. It's been insane.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna call.
Was that convincing?
No, not at all.
Oh.
You have to really, really sell it. You gotta
Yeah, no, they cry.
Try again. Let's see how it works.
You think I can do it?
100%. You gotta do the fake tears. You gotta
I can't get it.
Let me smack you and just
no,
right into it.
It has to be. I don't know. I think I'll try it another time, but it's not coming to me. I'm not a great crier, but I'll definitely take lessons from you.
I'm not a crier, asshole.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Tell yourself that. No problem.
You are a bully. I do not appreciate it. Just because I cry sometimes.
I have two.
Doesn't mean you promised me you wouldn't bring that up, and I just wish my parents would call. It's just been 26 years, 3 days, and 14 hours. And I think I'm actually crying if you look closely enough. I don't
No one even wants me anymore. It's 26 years and they don't even give me the time of day.
Okay,
I just look like I'm about to take a poop.
Okay. If you could zoom in, there's a little tear. I'm actually.
When I yawn, I think that's the key. I'll yawn first and then I'll cry, and then it'll come.
So, do you know what method acting is?
I know what meth is.
Okay. So, method acting has nothing to do with meth and acting, by the way. Method acting is a form of acting that actually, I should probably give you the
By the way, I'm
definition.
surprised that's not a slang.
Method?
No, if you OD on meth, it should be called methoding.
Methoding? I don't know.
Think about it. I should not be coining overdosing on heavy drugs. And I know about heavy drugs, thank God. But yeah, it kind of works. Imagine like this podcast gets seen by enough people who do meth, and,
and then Urban Dictionary is like, "Hey, mething."
Like, hey, and then they're like, "Well, that was created by this." And I was like, "Oh, nice, great." Vice knocks on my door.
On your tombstone, the man who created medding.
The man, the myth, the method. Okay. Well, you were gonna show me something?
Method acting. A technique of acting in which an actor aspires to complete emotional identification with a part based on the system. Blah, 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 blah,
So like
blah.
crying,
it's
screaming, complaining. But you do that in your everyday
life. Do you know
life.
who Marlon Brando is? Marlon Brando,
yeah.
He's known for that. So basically, you become that. There's like becoming the character. There's using past experiences as an actor to portray similar emotions in let's say, a play, a screenwrite, whatever it is, a film. So there's different kinds of acting. So you said, if I could be an actor, this and this. That's literally how he does.
Hey, what are classic Kafkazi names? Male names.
Tofik, Slavik, Rafik.
Rafik, actually?
Rafik, yeah. Rafik, Tofik, Slavik, Tolik.
Say the name again.
I don't get it.
Say the name again.
Tofik?
No, you said
Rafik?
the last name you said.
Tolik.
Say it again.
I don't get it.
It'll take you a few years.
Tolik. Oh!
Mama Shalumov really did.
Times,
I don't know if she dropped you. She might have just like piled.
It was out of love.
She piled drove your head into the ground. You're so dense. Tolik.
Bless you.
That was good. That was a good run. No, but I totally interrupted. My bad, bro. I had to throw that in there. What were you?
I have no idea what we were talking about, but we've been living together for 2 weeks now?
More than that, man. More than that. It's been
3 weeks.
It's been at least 3 weeks, dude.
So we flew to New York in July, the second week of July.
Yeah.
So it's been almost a month.
Yeah, bro.
I was here the week before that. Yeah, so it's been about a month. It's been pretty cool. Miami is definitely an interesting city. If things were not closed, it'd be a little bit more fun.
Do you have anything else more to add before we wrap up shop?
I mean, you tell me what you want to hear about. I have crazy X stories. I know a little bit about stocks. I travel to.
Dude, we can do another segment.
All right.
Do another segment.
I could probably give an entire podcast about my ex-girlfriends and my ex-relationship escapades.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably not a good idea because all of them will definitely murder me. But I have the worst luck with women. You know what it is? It's like you find a girl that has a decent attractiveness factor, but the crazy hotness scale is so out of whack. Like, yes, the hotness might be there, but the craziness is so out of whack that at that point you get yourself in a situation you're like...
There's so much to talk about when we bring up this conversation. But ultimately, to end that, because we could talk about it in another segment, to end that, it's also very important to reflect on yourself. You know what I mean?
I get it.
To
I'm
say,
all messed up as a person.
No, just
a little bit, yeah.
But really, just due to this, mainly just due to poof, poof, just smashing your head into the ground. But otherwise, you're probably pretty normal.
Well, I mean, you actually know me. Okay, time out. Now I'm a little curious. Time out. Be brutally honest. I don't care if this is a podcast or not. You got to tell me everything in terms of impressions. Yeah, I know I come off a little bit too friendly and all these things, but I'm not a bad dude. Yes, I'm a little messy.
Dude, you're Great, man. You're a great.
Okay,
dude.
but in terms of relationships, I can tell you 101 examples where I've acted
By the way,
normally.
do you want this? Can we air this?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, dude.
Might have
You
to
have
talk to my
stuff
ex-girlfriend.
just like me, but you have things clearly that you need to work on. So aside from what kind of woman you want, work on those things first, and then you'll be more of an available or an eligible bachelor. And that applies for most people, but there are certain things that I feel once you, like I've said this to you before, and this is something that I keep saying this over and over again, but the more you are in tune with who you want to be, I think the higher the likelihood that woman that you have a desire for will come into your life. And in general, you'll just have more options. You'll have a lot more options of dateable women because you're going to be so... People can sense when you're in a good place. They just can. So if you're there, bro, they'll just know. And I know it sounds like sunshine and rainbows, but I think it's true, man. I believe that.
I mean, self-growth is important, and I don't think
It's hard when you're getting your head smashed into the ground as a baby, but...
It's not my fault.
It's not your fault at all, but now, I mean...
My mom had slippery hands.
No, dude. She knew. Those hands were tightly gripped on your neck when she was
Just Yo, I feel so bad. My mom's gonna watch this and be like, "Why is he telling everyone that I beat the shit out of him? Dropped him like 100 times."
No, but
Mom.
Can I be completely honest?
No.
She would laugh her ass off.
You think so?
I think so.
I hope so.
I think so. Your dad would be like, "Yes, I should have done it more. I was egging her on every time to do it more. She didn't. She felt bad."
And then your parents are like, "It's a good thing we didn't call." Dark humor for the win.
Dude,
so how many dead babies does it take to paint a wall?
I don't know.
It depends how hard you throw them. But back to the dating thing. I love dark humor. Back to the dating thing. Look, self-growth is important. And I'm just as a man, or not a man enough to admit that as the next person. But what I also learned over the years is, as much as self-growth is important, I've noticed that we kind of tend to not blame ourselves, but also not allow ourselves to get into relationships because we think we're not ready. But a part of getting into a relationship is being able to grow. A relationship is growing. You have to grow as yourself, and that's important. And you have to grow independently from that other person. But you can continue to also grow together with that person.
Okay.
I'm not saying that value your happiness based on that person in that relationship. You should have your own happiness, your own morals, your own life, and your own goals. But because you're growing with this person, you decided to date with this person.
I have a great answer for you.
As long as those things are there, then self-growth is a part of a relationship as well. You grow as a person individually in your relationships. Yes, as many times as I say all my relationships have been crazy and this and that and third, I wouldn't take them away from my life. Relationships are about growth, and there's no way to be happy by yourself if you want to be in a relationship, because at the end of the day, you can't be happy knowing that you want to have a partner in your life. You could be happy independently and say, okay, now I'm ready to have a partner, and I agree there's a part of that that makes sense. But we shouldn't be scared to go out there and get into these relationships over and over again, as long as we understand really, hey, if it's not working out, get out of it, right? Because you're not going to marry this person, and you're looking to eventually get married, that means that you're basically leading this person along, right? Because if you're not, when you're dating someone, it's like, hey, we can one day get married, or this is serious, or let's be honest, this is not going to end up anywhere.
It's hard to do that, man. It's very hard to do that. But the truth is, because I very much agree with what you said, as far as not necessarily just waiting for the perfect moment, and when you're with the right person, they'll help you grow. I agree with that. So, for instance, would I like to meet a girl and get married in the near future? Sure. But I do preferably, until that happens, I want to strive to be as well-rounded as I can, as versatile as I can, as they say, financially stable, physically healthy, emotionally healthy, constantly learning new things, constantly learning how to overcome different challenges, because I become a more desirable partner. I can bring more to the table. I can give more to my children. I'm less afraid of things. I'm more prepared for life and all these things. So I'm not going to just wait until I'm 40. I mean, if that's what life has in store, I hope not. But if that's what it is, that's what it is, And ultimately, because I can't predict what's going to happen in the near future, I have to prepare to the best of my ability. So it doesn't. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, because I've said what you said. So I simply think it's just, no matter whether you're single or you're dating someone or you're married to someone, whatever the case may be, you strive for something, work for something, try to learn, try to develop a skill, overcome a challenge. That's what brings. I mean, that's what makes people attractive in any way. Whether you're trying to date them or just being their friend, people want to be around people who are constantly looking to accomplish new things, and they're always on their feet, and they're always, people who
Success is an important factor.
That's what people want to be around, because you're bringing value to other people's lives. If you're not giving them something of monetary value, you're giving them something of emotional value. You're simply motivating them, which will in turn usually bring the money to, if you're a mentor, if you have someone that's a few years older than you, or even younger than you, but they're doing exceptionally well in life, they're following their path in life, even if they're not giving you a job necessarily, they are giving you a strong sense of motivation, where you say, wow, look at that person getting it. I want to know how this person's doing it. You might sit down with them, become friendly with them, and they might tell you, hey, you got to do A, B, C, and D, and you start doing A. Over time, you get to B. Later on, you get to C, and eventually you get to D. You merge them all together, and your life takes a massive turn for the better in the course of several months even. And that's something that, I don't know, I think it's a key thing. I think the large majority of people don't make that a priority. And so if you're talking about relationships, I'm just going to end off with this. You can obviously. So when you're looking for a potential partner, the more you can offer, the more capable of a person you are, the more likely you'll be you look at celebrities, right? Not to say that they don't have their imperfections, because believe me, they do. But when it comes to finding a desirable mate, there's people waiting in line to date them because they're famous, they're rich, a lot of them are good looking, they're talented. It comes with a lot of baggage. A lot of them don't have happy marriages, but initially, come on, Leonardo DiCaprio, guy's never been married. The guy could date hundreds of millions of women if he wanted to.
But we're not all Leos, you know what I mean?
It's not. I'm not telling you to be Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm not telling you to be a famous actor. My point is to become. You don't even forget about fame even. And it's not even about massive amounts of wealth. It's about being in tune with who you want to be. Now, I don't know if he's who he wants to be. It's not about him specifically. It was just an example.
Yeah.
But when you have that massive sense of, I'm doing what I want to do in life, mm-hmm. or I'm doing these few things that I want to do in life, mm-hmm. people notice that, and they want it. They want to be around it. And they want to, because they want to eventually have it also. So they're hoping that by being around, I think it's a subconscious thing, where they're hoping that if they surround themselves with you, it'll rub off on them, and everyone will be all happy, and everything will be wonderful. Because we all kind of want that perfect life, even though we know it's not attainable, and we want the closest thing to it, I think.
To be honest with you,
as long as you're honest with me,
as long as I'm always honest with you, I think those are important factors, and I think that looking at it,
well, that's a first.
Looking at it, you could tell that yes, those are important, but when you come back to it, it comes back to the core principles of a relationship. And at the end of the day, these are things you need to practice with another person. Being in a relationship, you could be the most well put together man, richest man, most accomplished, most successful, wakes up at 5 a.m., goes to sleep at 9 p.m., does 1,005 things like Mark Wahlberg. Everything is great and dandy. But if he doesn't know how to act in a relationship, he doesn't know how to communicate, he doesn't have a loyalty, he doesn't, or she doesn't, whatever it is, those things don't matter. You have to put a good mix of that. And that means that as much as you focus on your life and progressing as a person and trying to get yourself together, as you work on those things, yes, in our case, the woman will come. Or in a woman's case, the man will come when you see that they're successful in all these things.
Goes both ways.
But with that being said, you still need to practice and understand that there are things in a relationship that you could be the biggest millionaire in the world. If you're not a good person, you're not a good person.
But this is more about initially attracting
versus keeping a person.
Right. So initially attracting, people want to see credentials a lot of the time.
The resume, yeah, 100%.
They want to see, looks are important. Don't get me wrong, for both sides, but women especially want to see that a man is accomplished. A man can take care of her and the family, and he's well-to-do. She doesn't have to baby him. She doesn't have to teach him how to do laundry. She doesn't have to teach him, how to dress. He knows he has good style. He knows what to eat. He has his drinking preferences. He's lived his own life. He doesn't have to sit there and the woman in his life has, hey, you got that shirt looks stupid. This looks that. I mean, it happens eventually. A lot of the women are generally better with these things, but it's probably refreshing for those, honestly, those lucky women and lucky men, and it goes both ways, that can find a spouse or just a significant other that doesn't need to be taught all these things because they're
mature, responsible.
Yeah, they know how to do most of the things that you're required to do. Your average person is required to do on a daily basis. Just, showering, brushing your teeth, keeping your area clean, cleaning up after yourself, all these common, manners, etiquette, all these things. If you don't have to teach your other person pretty much any of those things, that's awesome. Because a lot of people need that. Like I would say the majority of human beings lack in a lot of these fields. Not to say I don't.
But that's important to you. It might not be important to someone. Someone be a messy person and be like, I don't need a clean person in my life. I need someone that's you. I mean, I do think those are important. I'm
not a clean freak, and that's the funny thing. I've just been trying to make.
I've been living with you for a little bit. You probably have yelled at me at least 17 times a day. Bro, I don't know about this,
dude.
Yeah, a little bit of
messy though.
I'm not. Okay, I am. Okay.
The only reason you're not is because I'm like I am.
Oh.
Bro, the truth is, man, I'll tell you the truth. My roommate, the guy that I used to live with, my buddy that I used to live with, he was much cleaner than me. And I got a lot of this from him. My grandmother also was a very clean person. I was never dirty where, like, I have food everywhere and things like that. But, yeah, like, my room can get a little messy, and it's never, like, garbage. But I'll leave, like, papers around or whatever it is. But now, when I know he left, and he would be a lot of the time doing the sweeping, and he would mop. He was, like, clean to a T. Like, he's crazy clean. And I took that after he left, and I was like, you know what? I can't make the excuse where he just leaves and I just leave the place a mess. Like, I did clean up after myself. I respected it. I didn't just leave the place for him to clean up after me. But when it came to like actually like the floors, for instance, I usually didn't get to it as much. He did it most of the time. I feel bad about that. I should have, but he didn't make it much of an issue, so it kind of just went like that.
So you said your old roommate was from the Coast Guard, right? He's going back or something like that?
No, he never went yet.
Oh, he's starting the Coast Guard?
National Guard.
National Guard. Got it. So what's the process like that? Do you know anything about his process?
He has like 6 months of training, and he's going to be in a different state for some time. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I wish him well. I hope he enjoys it.
Do you have any good stories from your days back in the Israeli army?
I have many, but I'd prefer to. We'll go into it in a different segment.
So we probably have these conversations every single night here, so...
No, you don't really ask me about those things.
Not about the army, but just in general.
It has been very good time episoding with you in Azerbaijan, and I hope I can Lezginka with you next week.
You're going to have to put Lezginka in this video at what point or the other.
Lezginka! Just to show them what First of all, on a previous video, I was talking about the Kafkazi culture, and I put in.
Oh, okay, so this is not the first time they're hearing about this weird thing.
If they tune into this... No, but just to let you guys know, it was with an episode I did with my buddy Fernando. Check the episode out. We talk about Pavel's culture, and it's a very interesting culture. And that's it. Yo, Pavi baby.
What's that?
Thank you for coming onto the episode. It was a pleasure. Now that you're away from home, you have some time for your brain to kind of come back to that equilibrium.
Sure.
So you're starting to remember things now. Your mom. What does your mom do now? She just smashes dishes on the ground?
Yes, she misses me so much. She just throws things on the floor just to reciprocate.
Takes your little sister and does it to her. Anyway,
it's so mean. Leave my sister out of this.
Dude, thanks for coming. We'll be doing another one hopefully in a short moment. Ta-ta. Until next time.
Peace, guys. Thank you for having me.